Imagine a lost city in the heart of America, towering pyramids, mysterious rituals, and a civilization that vanished without a trace. This isn't a legend from Egypt or a myth from the Amazon. This is Cahokia, America's forgotten ancient metropolis. If you love uncovering hidden histories, mind-blowing mysteries, and the real stories behind ancient empires, you're in the perfect place. We dive deep, we ask the big questions, and we bring the past to life one epic story at a time. So, smash that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and join our community of history hunters. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think happened to Cahokia? Let's explore the secrets of the past together, right here, every week. It begins with a journey. The year is 1100 AD. A lone Norse trader, his beard flecked with frost, stands on the banks of a mighty river, gazing across a landscape that seems to ripple with secrets. He has traveled far, following the winding veins of the Mississippi, expecting only wilderness and scattered villages. Instead, he beholds a city vast, teeming, and utterly unexpected. Earthen pyramids rise from the mist like the backs of ancient beasts. Smoke curls from thousands of homes. The air hums with the sound of drums, laughter, and the distant cries of hawks. He is not the first to be awed by Cahokia, and he will not be the last. Centuries later, French explorers will stumble upon the same mounds, their canoes gliding silently past the remnants of a civilization they cannot comprehend. They will ask the local Illini people, "Who built these?" The answer will be a shrug, a word: Cahokia. The name will stick, but the story will fade, lost beneath layers of earth and time. But Cahokia was never meant to be forgotten. Beneath the modern skyline of St. Louis, beneath highways and subdivisions, lies the memory of a metropolis that once rivaled the greatest cities of the world. At its height, Cahokia was home to as many as 20,000 souls more than London or Paris at the same time. Its people built monuments that dwarfed anything north of Mexico. They engineered a society of complexity, beauty, and, at times, terror. And then, as suddenly as it rose, Cahokia vanished, leaving behind only silence and the enigmatic shapes of its mounds. To understand Cahokia is to step into a world both familiar and aliena, world of ambition, faith, violence, and hope. The story of Cahokia does not begin with its fall, nor even with its rise, but with the land itself. The Mississippi Valley, lush and fertile, was a crossroads of rivers and cultures. For millennia, people hunted, fished, and farmed here, their lives shaped by the rhythms of flood and drought. But around 1050 AD, something changed. A spark was struck. Across the region, villages began to coalesce, populations swelled, and a new vision took hold. A vision that would transform the landscape and the people who called it home. At the heart of this transformation stood Monk's Mound, a colossal earthen pyramid rising nearly 100 feet above the plain. It was built not of stone, but of earth, millions of baskets of soil, carried by hand, stacked layer upon layer. It was a feat of engineering as audacious as the pyramids of Egypt or the ziggurats of Mesopotamia. From its summit, a ruler known to us only as the Great Sun could survey his domain. A city of broad plazas, ceremonial mounds, and neighborhoods bustling with life. Cahokia was not a city of stone and marble, but of wood, earth, and dreams. Its people lived in thatched houses, their walls daubed with clay, their floors swept clean each morning. They grew corn, beans, and squash in fields that stretched to the horizon. They fished the rivers, hunted deer in the forests, and gathered wild fruits in the shadow of the mounds. Children played in the plazas, their laughter echoing off the earthen walls. At night, The city glowed with the light of 1,000 fires, and the air was thick with the scent of roasting meat and the sound of distant flutes. But Cahokia was more than a city. It was a stage for the grand drama of human ambition. The rulers of Cahokia were not content with mere survival. They sought glory, power, and immortality. They built monuments to their gods and to themselves. They orchestrated rituals of astonishing scale and intensity. In the great plaza, thousands would gather to witness the spectacle of the Chunkey contest of skill and chance, where warriors hurled spears at a rolling stone disc, their fates hanging in the balance. The winners gained honor. The losers, sometimes, paid with their lives. The city was a magnet, drawing people from across the continent. Archaeologists have found shells from the Gulf Coast, copper from the Great Lakes, obsidian from the Rockies. Traders, pilgrims, and adventurers flocked to Cahokia, bringing with them new ideas, new technologies, and new ambitions. The city grew, its neighborhoods swelling with newcomers, its markets bustling with goods from distant lands. But with greatness came danger. The rulers of Cahokia were both revered and feared. Their power was absolute, their word law. They claimed descent from the sun, their bodies adorned with feathers, shells, and copper. They presided over rituals that bound the people together and sometimes tore them apart. In the shadow of the mounds, sacrifices were made. Archaeologists have uncovered mass graves, the bones of young women laid out in careful rows, their lives given to ensure the fertility of the land and the power of the rulers. It is a reminder that the line between civilization and savagery is often thin, and that greatness is sometimes built on the bones of the innocent. Yet, for all its darkness, Cahokia was a place of creativity and joy. The people of Cahokia were artists, their pottery adorned with swirling designs, their jewelry crafted from rare stones and metals. They were astronomers, building wood-henge-like circles to track the movements of the sun and stars. They were storytellers, their myths and legends echoing across the generations. One story tells of a boy, the son of a chief, who was given a dwarf as a companiona living curiosity, a symbol of the city's wealth and power. The boy was fascinated, not by the dwarf's strangeness, but by his laughter, his cleverness, and his ability to see the world from a different angle. In a city obsessed with hierarchy and order, the boy and the dwarf became friends. Their bond, a small act of rebellion against the rigid rules of their world. But even as Cahokia flourished, cracks began to appear. The city's rapid growth strained its resources. Forests were cut down to build houses and fuel fires. The land was overworked, the soil growing thin and tired. The rivers, once teeming with fish, began to run muddy and slow. Disease, always a shadow in crowded cities, found fertile ground. Famine followed, and with it, unrest. The rulers, desperate to maintain their power, turned to ever more elaborate rituals. The sacrifices grew larger, the ceremonies more intense. The people, once united by faith and ambition, began to question, to doubt, to rebel. Civil wars broke out, neighborhoods burned, and the great mounds stood silent witness to the city's unraveling. And then, as suddenly as it had risen, Cahokia fell. By 1350, the city was all but abandoned. The reasons remain: a mystery climate change, resource depletion, disease, warfare, or perhaps all of these. The people scattered, their stories carried on the wind. The mounds, once the heart of a great metropolis, were swallowed by grass and trees, their secrets buried beneath centuries of silence. But the story does not end there. For centuries, the memory of Cahokia lingered, a ghost in the American landscape. Settlers plowed the fields, unaware of the city beneath their feet. Roads, and railways cut through the mounds, their shapes softened by time and neglect. But the land remembered. In the 19th century, archaeologists began to dig, to uncover the bones and pottery, the tools and ornaments, the traces of a lost civilization. They pieced together the story of Cahokia, its rise and fall, its triumphs and tragedies. And yet, for all we have learned, much remains unknown. Who were the rulers of Cahokia? What drove them to build such monuments? Why did the city fall? The answers are elusive, hidden in the earth, waiting to be discovered. Cahokia is a reminder that history is not a straight line, but a tapestry of stories, some bright, some dark, all woven together by the hands of those who came before us. It is a story of ambition and pride, of family and betrayal, of hope and despair. It is a story that belongs not just to the people of Cahokia, but to all of us. For in the end, Cahokia is a mirror. It reflects our own dreams and fears, our own struggles and triumphs. It asks us to remember, to wonder, to seek meaning in the ruins of the past. As the sun sets over the mounds, casting long shadows across the grass, one can almost hear the echoes of the city that once was the laughter of children, the beat of drums, the whispered prayers of those who sought to touch the sky. And in that moment, Cahokia lives again. The story of Cahokia is not just a tale of the past, but a meditation on impermanence. Like Shelley's Ozymandias, the mounds stand as a testament to the fleeting nature of power and glory. Look at my works, ye mighty, and despair. But the mounds do not despair. They endure. They remind us that greatness is not measured by what we build, but by what we remember. In the words of the ancient harper's song, sung long before Cahokia rose and fell, make a holiday. Do not weary of it. Look, there is no one allowed to take their things with them, and there is no one who goes away and comes back again. Cahokia's people are gone, but their story remains a story of hope and hubris, of creation and destruction, of a city that dared to dream. And so, as the Norse trader turns away from the river, as the French explorers paddle past the silent mounds, as the archaeologists sift through the earth, the question lingers. Who will remember Cahokia? The answer, perhaps, is all of us. For in remembering, we keep the city alive not just as a place, but as a possibility, a dream of what America once was and what it might yet become.